All right, everybody, welcome back. Here we have Nate, of course, my main opponent for sealed only, and he has a very interesting deck to show you guys. So let's go ahead and see it, man.
All right. So today I've been messing around with Trickstars forever. I've pretty much played it since the format where it was Altergeist, Skokie, and Trickstar. But it's always my go back to deck. Like whenever I play a deck and I'm get bored of that deck, I always go back to Trickstar. I ended up selling the deck not too long ago when they hit light stage, but I ended up buying back the deck just because of how much I missed it. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the profile. So of course you run 3 copies of Trickstar Candina. This card, when you whenever you normal summon it, it searches the deck for any Trickstar card, which can get you the field spell or even the trap card, which is kind of broken. And then it also has a secondary effect. Pretty much all Trickstars have an effect where if you activate, like if your opponent does a certain thing per card, they get burned for 200 points of damage. So this one is whenever your opponent activates spells or traps.
All right.
And then I run 3 copies of Trickstar Licorice. This card is really fun to play in the deck. I've seen people play it at 2, but honestly 3 just works so much better in my opinion. Because I've had turns where I started out with Candina and like the field spell, and I just searched all 3 copies of Licorice. So really good card, can easily combo off of itself because its effect is a quick effect that says target a Trickstar monster on your field, special summon the Licorice, and then bounce back the other monster. However, because it's a quick effect, let's say I were to have Candina on the field, I could do chain link 1, 2, 3, bounce back the Candina, and summon out all 3 copies. I've actually done that against one of my friends, and I mean, I didn't win the game because he was playing pretty much Dragoon Turbo, but it's fun.
Also, if you saw our last one, you probably know who it is.
Oh, did you already get his video?
Yeah, he was last episode.
That's great.
Yes.
But this effect is whenever your opponent adds a card to their hand, whether it's field, graveyard, deck, whatever. It burns for 200. And then this one is kind of the oddball out from these. It doesn't burn. However, if you control no monsters or only Trickstar monsters, you can just special summon it from your hand. Also, while it's in hand, it is pretty much a pseudo honest for the deck. You can discard it in battle with one of your Trickstars, and it adds the original attack of the Trickstar. So this one, since it's 16, will become 32. It just makes it to where you can get over your opponent's bigger monsters, or even if you can bait out a Dragoon and then just start using, like, then you set up Corbane with something else, you pretty much have a way to out Dragoon. But then again, this deck doesn't really get too phased by it because you're not really reliant on the monster effects as much, or the activated monster effects, I guess. And then to wrap up the Trickstar package, I run the 1 copy of Trickstar Lilybell. This card reads whenever it's added to hand, except by drawing, you can special summon it. So it's actually, so it pretty much gives you another monster on field for Licorice to bounce back. But it also has another effect that allows you to attack your opponent directly. And whenever it deals battle damage to your opponent, you can add back a Trickstar from your grave. The way I like to play it is when I have the Licorice in grave and I search Lilybell, I summon back Lilybell, attack, add back Licorice, and still in the battle phase, just bounce back Lilybell and start swinging with Licorice or whatever.
Yeah, and I definitely liked using this engine when I was doing Trickstar Shadal back during when the structure deck came out. It was always the budget version because the invoked cards were just insane, even more insane than they are now.
Yeah, honestly, I was waiting for them to go down. I really wish that I didn't sell my core for invoked, but it's whatever. I needed the money. So for the hand traps, I run 2 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Effect Veiler, and 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. And then, of course, the triple Infinite Impermanence. Pretty much, with the hand traps, just do whatever the meta, whatever you see the meta is doing, I would go for that. Honestly, I would probably cut the Veilers for DD Crow at this point, because it's much more viable in this meta.
So why the ogres?
The ogres, I see it pretty much ever since the rule change, where cards have to be on the field for their effect to activate. Or mainly even for the field spell, which is like the main reason I run it, is for instance Curse Oldman. That's continuous. You hit that with Ghost Ogre, it doesn't get its effects. Mainly I run it for anybody playing. Also, Dragoon. If you can bait out Dragoon while having that in hand, you can Ghost Ogre the Dragoon. Yes, it negates the effect of the target for Dragoon, but it also destroys the Dragoon. Just gets over it.
Well, doesn't the ogre destroy though?
Can Dragoon not be destroyed?
Yeah, it can't be destroyed by card effects.
Oh. Oh, I guess it does. Okay. Then I guess I've played against people who didn't know what they were doing, just like I don't. Anyway, moving on to the spell cards. The way I like to play my control decks is always very reliant on the field spells. And you're about to see one of them that really makes all of the opponents I face pretty much angry with me. But anyway, I run the one Trickstar Light Stage. This card, whenever you activate it, it can search a Trickstar monster from your deck. And then it also has the effect where if your opponent takes damage from a Trickstar monster, this burns you for 200. So your Licorice that only did 200 now does 400. And then I also run Necro Valley, mainly for the set rotation. However, some decks, if you just drop it against your opponent, there's not really much they can do. And then this is the card that really makes everybody mad with me. I run triple Mystic Mine.
And for good reason. Let's be honest.
Honestly, if I were to have to choose between, like, if I were to have to let this card get banned just to get these three back, I would. But honestly, I don't think Mystic Mine's that big of a problem in this metagame because I look at it like it's a necessary evil because it has changed the way that people main deck and side deck for the good of the game. So you see more people running cards that can destroy it, like spell and trap cards. Honestly, if they were to hit it, I would suggest hitting it to 1. Just for the fact of it is one of those cards that does... At this point, it's more you need skill to play Mystic Mine. Because you have to know how to play it against your opponent, when to drop it. And I remember when this card was like, yeah, anybody mindless can play Mystic Mine. Now it's like most decks, you can just get away with running 1. However, because Trickstar did have the massive hit with Light Stage, stupid Orchist trying to ruining my favorite deck. Pretty much, Mystic Mine isn't that big of a problem in this metagame. I think the 3 is a little bit too much, but that's the only way that this deck can perform at the moment.
Trust me, I understand the feeling with me losing Draco to Sky Striker.
And then for, as I said, I play a bunch of field spells, so I have to play a bunch of searchers. So I run 1 terraforming, 1 set rotation. This one I've had multiple people ask me why, but I run 1 copy of Demise of the Land. This is pretty much just, for those who don't know what it says, is whenever your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can activate 1 field spell directly from your deck. So that means it gets around Ash Blossom and it can interrupt your opponent mid-combo. And then I also run the 1 Metaverse. I don't like Metaverse all that much in this format because it can be ashed, and most people don't know that it can actually be ashed, but its effect actually says you can either add it to your hand or you can activate it to the field. So because it did not have a clause that was evenly separated, I guess is the best way to say it, your opponent can easily ash this even when you're just trying to activate it to the field. And then for the consistency of the deck, I run 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. This card is a little expensive to get at the moment, so if you really need something budget, I would suggest playing Pot of Duality. You have to play differently because it does lock you out of special summoning, but honestly in this deck it's not that needed. Because if you can just get Mystic Mine and Licorice on field while your opponent has more than 1 monster, your starters are going to keep burning them each turn. And then moving on to the trap cards, of course, we're going to run 3 copies of Reincarnation. The reason why this card is so powerful is with Licorice, because this says, for like whenever you activate this, your opponent has to banish all their cards and then draw the same amount. So, because they are drawing, they will be taking damage from the Licorice and from the Light Stage. But this also has a really good effect in Graveyard where you can banish this to special summon back any Trickstar monster from your graveyard.
Yeah, that card is insane. I cannot deny that.
Honestly, at this point, I wish that they hit Reincarnation first before they hit Light Stage, but with the meta the way that it was with the Orcus, just being able to use the Trickstar package just to get out the Nightmare Mermaid, it was a good hit at the time, but now that Nightmare Mermaid's gone, I think that card could easily come back to 3. Light Stage, it just needs to. And then, to wrap up the deck, I will run up 3 copies of Trap Trick, 2 copies of Lost Wind, and 2 copies of Dynamishkus. Honestly, if I had the Ice Dragon's Prism, I would run that instead, but I highly regret not getting it when it was $20.
Man, I regret not getting it when it was dang $5.
Yeah. Actually, I think when I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, it's at $10. I need to get it now.
Yeah.
I even told my mother, I'm like, yeah, I need to pick up this card because I've been watching the numbers. It just keeps going up. And then I forgot to buy them.
Oh.
And now they're like, what, 60 a piece?
I think they're still
60?
I think they're still around the 50 to 55 range.
Yeah, that's just a big no-go for me. Moving on to, do you want to see the extra deck or the side deck first?
Let's go with extra deck.
Extra deck? Alright. So, for the extra deck, I run 3 copies of Nightmare Phoenix and 2 copies of Unicorn. These are really the only cards that you need for the deck. Like, for the extra deck, the rest of it, you'll see in a second why I'm running the rest of it. But, the reason why I run multiples, of course, is for the extravagance.
Of course.
And then I run the Apollosa, Halki Fibrax, Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, which honestly you can change this for anything. I've just seen, like, at my locals, some people still play Salamangreat. And you'll see why I have these cards for my side deck, like when I get to my side deck. Assault, 2 Tails of the Noble Knights, Invoked Mechaba, Shadal Apkalone. Then I have Cyber Dragon Infinity, River Stormer, and then Dingirsu. And then to finish it off, the Herald of the Arclight. Because people still play this card, which is frustrating, but it's what it is.
Yeah, that card is freaking insane.
It's literally an Omni Negate.
And it's so easy to make.
It really is. But moving on to the side deck, I run 3 copies of Nibiru. And here's why I'm running all those weird cards on my extra deck. If you haven't figured it out, I run 3 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. And then I run Winged Dragon of Raw Sphere Mode at 2, 3 Dark Ruler No More, 2 Twin Twisters, and 2 Evenly Matched.
All good options. Very good cards.
Had to do something about the metagame, so.
All right. So, man, is there any changes you would like to make, like outside the Sunlight Wolf? Like, you know, maybe like the Drolls or anything like that?
Honestly, I like Droll. I think Droll's a really good card, especially for this deck. However, the fact of I'm probably not going to be able to search it I can't search it, so I'm relied to draw it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, honestly, late game, if I were to draw a Droll, it'd be a brick to me.
True.
I might think about running it in the side deck, but honestly, main decking it, yes, I get it. Droll Reincarnation is still a problem. Yeah, I might be able to set up 2 Reincarnations, but there's no guarantee I'm going to have Droll in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, personally, I played Droll back in the heyday of Trickstar, but nowadays, it's more of a side deck card. I've seen multiple people main deck it. I don't think it needs to be in the main deck for this deck.
All right.
Oh yeah, the Effect Veilers I will definitely swap out for the DD Crows. And once I have maybe a little bit more money, just a little bit, I might try to find a way to throw in, what was it?
Ice Dragons.
Well, yeah, for sure the Ice Dragons, because I want to change that. The
Pots.
I already forgot the name of it. Dang. Forbidden Droplets.
Oh yeah, Droplets
But
definitely.
Droplets is way out of my price range at the moment. But yeah, I don't really think there's going to be much changes. I might change the extra deck just a little bit to make it more focused towards the meta. But honestly, I think what I have is pretty good so far.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming out and letting us see it. Anyone you want to shout out or anything like that?
I can go ahead and shout out my channel, NatePlaysYGO. Again, me and Chandler are going back and forth with our sealed only. I'm a little late on the posting. I've had a lot going on in life. I'm hoping that everybody understands that. And of course, subscribe to my boy Stubbs TCG.
Yep.
And a real oddball in this shout out is Ty's House of Cards, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, that's what Tyrell's is.
Yeah. He doesn't post much on Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't think he posts any on it.
Right now, he's focused on the My Hero Academia TCG or CCG. I think it's their acronym.
Yeah. But no, I would definitely suggest checking that out. He has very interesting content. I actually need to catch up on some of it, but
I'm surprised he actually has a good editing. I mean, that's actually
sure.
really good.
For sure. But no, I think that's about it.
All right, man. Well, again, thanks for coming out, and we hope to see more of everybody soon. Eventually, I'll be starting doing my own decks once I complete a few of them. So, that's been it. Have a good night. I'll see you guys next time.